You can kick rocks if you don't like how I talk. I'm gonna keep on talking and walk my walk. Ain't
All right, and we are live. So I guess this will be our first official interview for Shift Happens. So you've met Preston and myself in our previous intro video, and we're joined by Ben Bohman. And just kind of, Ben, we'll kick it over to you, give quick introductions and some background on yourself and what you're all about.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Pretty excited about this. So background with me. So I have over 25 years in tech. So I've been in tech for a while, but I feel like my background blends a lot of technology and sales in that background. Justin, that's how you and I met, was in sales back, was that 20 years? It feels like 20 years ago, but I don't think it was quite 20 years
It's
ago.
like
It was
10,
yeah, 10
11,
years.
12.
Yeah, so a hot moment ago. And then recently, I don't know if you want to call it jumping into the AI wave and the storm of AI that's coming, but I've really focused about the last 3 years of just my professional career and just my mind to uncovering applicable AI and figuring out where it fits into businesses and how businesses can actually use it. There's a lot of fluff out there, right? There's a lot of nonsense. I think even Gardner said like 73% of all AI implementations fail. And so I was really trying to find, and what I feel like I have found is like, where do the implementations, where are they successful? What is applicable and usable AI? What's not hype? What's not fluff, and how it's using? And that's really, been my focus. So I feel like I've lived, eaten, breathed everything AI for the last 3 years. And then funny enough, you look at what we're doing with AI now, and I was still doing a lot of what people are calling AI with automation and systems 10, 15 years ago in tech. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey. It's been everything from networking to coding to programming to, telecom to pretty diverse, but I'm really liking where we're going with AI.
I think that is interesting because our story, I mean, we did meet as sales. So like finding out that you were technical, because you're like director of a technology department with another company, right?
Yeah, before that.
And then kind of pivoted into, we were doing, I think you were tech support for small to medium sized businesses. And you were kind of leading the charge on sales there. And so kind of full circle moment when finding out that you were in AI.
Yeah.
I think,
A lot of people didn't know I was in sales, right? Like a lot of people, or not, they didn't know I had the technical background, but I think overall at that time I had a focus on, I want to get into sales engineering and I needed a little bit more of a sales background. So decided to, get some experience in sales and had some great success with it. So, yeah.
I think like even with Preston and I, like some of the projects we've done, I mean, it can serve in like a different way, right? Like you've done some data analysis for us on one of our campaigns. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
super helpful.
Yeah. And I think it kind of guiding you the ability to kind of think from the sellers and the operator standpoint to take the information and actually deliver it in an outcome way. But I think what's interesting for me, and I know Preston, I think you said you had a few questions, but the one that I want to kind of throw out to you, and I think that like, how do you, because there's obviously like all these companies with AI, and like my little knowledge about, when I say all these companies with AI, I mean all these companies talking about AI, but like my knowledge about it, I can see it being misused a lot. Mm-hmm. Or I think in 2026 we're going to see a shit ton of money get spent on AI. To essentially like learn some expensive lessons. But for you, like looking at AI, what do you think? What do you think people are getting wrong about it right now? Like, what's a misconception about AI that people it's gonna cost a shit ton of money that they're gonna learn on the back end?
I think what most people are getting wrong, and it's funny when you look at the parallels with AI and technology in general, is it's very similar, but it's the same mistakes people are making, like rushing into something, not fully vetting something out, buying into the hype. I think that's probably one of the biggest things is there's a lot of companies that have a lot of cool ideas and they're able to present the idea, but they're never really able to show that it actually works. And so they're jumping in, spending money on AI initiatives before they even have a chance to, like, basically where they don't even have a chance of working because they've bought into the hype and this whole like whiz bang and the shiny toy type of problem that we have with AI right now. And I think that's the biggest thing I'm seeing is people who have spent money too soon. The other thing that we have to consider is AI, even though it's not young, I mean, AI, it's not like a couple years. AI has been around for a while, whether through machine learning or intelligence, or artificial intelligence. But the other thing we need to consider is how fast AI is moving right now. So I think long-term contracts in AI are another mistake people make, because what is relevant today is going to quickly be irrelevant tomorrow, right? In a week, 2 weeks, in a month. So I think just slowing down. I mean, obviously my business is AI consulting, and I do custom AI and bespoke AI for businesses. But I'm still like, let's see where this technology leads, because in 1 year, our ability to do things that we can't do right now is going to change, which is going to change a lot of products and everything like that. So I don't know if that answered that question, but I think it's really just people rushing in too quick just because they're excited about something without the knowledge of what it actually does.
Are you to kind of piggyback on that? Are you seeing people sign long-term contracts?
Yeah, I've seen and heard of some long-term contracts. I think a lot of them, especially the ones where they sign a long-term contract, it doesn't hold up. It doesn't hold up when it's not working. So I've seen more ethical practices with long-term contracts and customers being let out of long-term contracts. But yeah, it still is. I mean, but even in tech, I don't know, like 5-year contracts never make sense to me. Like even in technology in general. So you're going to save some extra money, but changes in technology just happen so fast, and changes in AI are happening even faster. So yeah, you still see some, you still see, long term and maybe even 1 year to 2 year contracts without a good SLA, I guess, is dangerous. Like make sure you have a good, hey, this is what the expectations are. If the expectations don't align, if they don't meet up, then we probably need to look somewhere else. So really, I think minimizing that risk profile when companies invest is important. You don't want to dump $50,000 into a project and not get anything out of it, and you do see that quite often.
All right, yeah, I think we were joking around on the last time we filmed, and I said there's definitely CTOs out there that are like, we're gonna make this shit work, and and the outcomes are almost meaningless.
Yeah.
Or you learn a lot. You learn a lot about like what was broken in the process, but from your perspective, right? Because I know just in our experience and kind of working with you on some stuff, like I wonder if maybe this will get better, but it seems like AI is only as good as I don't know that companies are prepared for it to the extent that what they want out of it. So like data cleanliness is an example of this. We can talk about how that is in call centers, because Preston and I inherently understand that, but it's like trying to automate shit. So like if you're considering AI, like a company that would be interested in your services, it's just considering like, how do I implement AI? What should they be doing today to like get the most bang for their buck?
Yeah.
In AI readiness?
So data cleanliness is an aspect of it. And I think it's more understanding your data and what data is relevant and necessary for you to accomplish what you need to accomplish. That's one thing. But the funniest thing that I see is companies don't even have a governance policy. If you think about, for cybersecurity, we have acceptable use policies for almost anything we do with a business. And it's like, hey, you can use your computer for this, the software for this. You're not allowed to go to this site. You're not allowed to do X, Y, Z, or you're allowed to use this technology in this way. But the first thing companies should be doing is having an acceptable use policy built for AI, and then governance policy on how AI is being used. There's a thing called shadow IT, which is basically programs running within the environment that the business doesn't know about, that's compromising security. And there's the same equivalent with AI, which is shadow AI, which is AI being used by employees trying to take maybe applicable shortcuts or trying to get stuff done faster. It's not always malicious intent, but it could be opening up some security holes or even some compliance like issues with your company, especially when you get in highly regulated industries like fintech and healthcare. If you have employees throwing PHI or other proprietary information into an engine, that could result in a possible lawsuit. So the first thing I would do is come up with acceptable use policies. The second thing I would do is don't squash creativity within your employees. So employees have a lot of good ideas on how AI can be used. And if you over policy and over police the use of AI, it can, I guess, diminish that creativity. So what I have seen and what I've worked with companies even is coming up with a form that gets submitted into legal and in management that gets reviewed on how they want to use AI. And you get a lot of good ideas from employees saying, hey, I'd love to use AI like this. They type it out, they type up their use case, they submit it, legal reviews it, management reviews it. And a lot of times it's like, oh, wow, we haven't thought of this, and this is relevant, this is usable. So having simple ways that your employees can suggest AI usage, but also that way you're covering it. So there are some times where employees like, I want to use this program. You look into it, you're like, you're absolutely never going to use this program in our environment, right? So you just have to, but again, I think that's the big thing is working with the employees. We've all been in sales, so I don't know if you guys remember when the CRM like first came out, and we still moved everything into Excel spreadsheets because it was easier to manage our book of business than the CRM. Well, that was a huge security problem, right? Because then you could just take that Excel spreadsheet, you could take it with you. So you'd have sales reps who would have years and years of data in Excel spreadsheets and just take that whole company's information with them. They were doing that because it was easier to work in that environment with an Excel spreadsheet than it was at the time of the CRM. Now that's changed. Unfortunately, we still see too many spreadsheets, but AI is the same thing in the sense that employees want to be faster, they want to be more productive, they want to be more efficient, they want to get done with all those mundane things which AI can help, but you've got to really, I guess, manage that properly and then give them the ability to do that.
I want to ask a dumb question, and treat me like I'm a child here. You say, because there was two terms you used, the acceptable governance policy and I think acceptable use policy. How would you explain that? Because I mean, to you, right? Like to me, I'm like, okay, so what does that mean? Like in the simplest terms possible.
So these are policies that outline how AI can be used internally and externally. Internally, how AI can be used, and externally, how you use AI as a company. So it's basically just clearly identifying, again, almost like in terms of that, the word acceptable use of AI in that environment. And then also not forgetting that a lot of customers, especially end users in not B2B, but more like consumer to consumer type of, or business to consumer type of businesses, they want to know how are you using AI with their data. So also letting your customer base know how you're using AI in a responsible way. So I think that's the easiest way to put it is it's a clear guide and outline of how AI can be used and is being used within your environment. And it's a moving guide, right? I think it's nothing, you don't set that and then forget about it and think that, like it's going to be good for 4 or 5 years. It is going to be a kind of a growing thing as you start adopting AI or finding different AI use cases. Was that simple enough?
Yeah, I think so.
No,
I think so.
that makes sense for sure because there needs to be some type of governance for it. And when we use AI, I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe would you agree that AI still needs to have some type of human element before having it sent to the customers?
For sure. And that's in AI, that's called human in the loop, right? So keeping the human element. I'm a huge proponent of AI being an enhancement of humanity, not a replacement for humanity. And that's everything I research about AI and everything I try to do with AI is how do we enhance a human to be better, but not replace the human. But yeah, it's definitely something that you need to work through. And even if you think about some of the stuff like, which is slight AI, I want to call heavy AI that I've done with you guys, you still have to go back and you have to check it. And you have to make sure that the data is coming up correctly, that it's not misinterpreting. What I've noticed with AI a lot is that it pulls accurate data, but it misinterprets the meaning of that data. And so you have to make sure that interpretation is good. And with one of my platforms I actually have it's a business intelligence platform. It has a thumbs up and thumbs down. A thumbs up saves that kind of query and the way it got to the information into a super memory kind of system. And a thumbs down, the user is able to say, well, I didn't like it because I asked this and I got this answer. And then as a development, we can go back and be like, oh, okay, well, let's fix that. But throughout anything you do, especially at the beginning, the human in the loop is important. Now there are some automation where you really don't want the human. Like every time X happens, then we need to send an email. Or every time X happens, we need to update this field. So when you're talking about simple automations, at the beginning while you're dialing it in and testing it, you still need to keep an eye on it, but you don't want to have a human checking every single thing. But so there's a balance with how you have to go about that. But 100%, the human element is still the most important element right now.
Yeah, and I was thinking of like from a manager perspective too. We're going to end up turning our managers or team leaders, coaches into AI cops in a sense. They're going to have to check what the agents are using, how they're using it. How do we keep the managers in that same AI human balance and using those tools to coach and manage their employees?
Sure. Well, and that goes back to the acceptable use policies and having everything documented what you do. Because really, when you think about a manager watching how people are doing AI, that shouldn't be the manager's focus, right? So if you think of a sales manager, it should be focused on how do we increase sales every single day? How do we hit an EBITDA or like certain type of numbers that you're trying to hit? That's the sales manager's focus. You don't want them also policing the AI usage. Yeah. Now, what you do need them is if IT comes to the manager and says, hey, this employee is using something they shouldn't be, let's bring him in. That could be an HR issue too. But I think overall, if you document everything and you set clear expectations and communicate clearly, and this is just business 101, right? This is just like business psychology 101. It's like you just have to clearly document and set proper expectations and then have the appropriate controls. But the manager layer should really be focused on that result of what they're trying to drive with their team.
That makes sense. I think like with like AI, I think obviously we talked about this. I think heard about AI probably like good 6 to 10 years before we actually like saw Chat GPT come to the world. And I think like those models have, I think everybody has a better understanding of like the power of AI now. It's not just a word. We're actually kind of seeing it in motion. But I mean, I could kind of dive into this, but like from your perspective, is there anything about AI that you think that we just don't know yet? Like, is there something you're seeing that's coming from AI that's going to be like a holy shit moment for people? I mean, is this just going to evolve slowly, or and we're going to go into a warming period? Or are you kind of seeing things in your conversations and some of your building that you're just like, wow, they have no idea?
I think AI is going to pick up steam and velocity because the more intelligent AI gets, the more creative AI gets, the quicker we're going to be able to create and use human creativity and intelligence in conjunction with AI. So I see it picking up steam. If you look into like AGI, which is advanced AI, that we're getting close. I mean, I don't think it's quite there, but even if you look at the self-driving cars, the robots that are coming out and everything, I think those are going to be the holy shit moments is the robots. Like when we actually have a robot walking around our house doing stuff.
Cooking our meals.
Yeah, human like robot. That's why I always like with GPT, I do, or even Claude, whatever model I'm using, I do catch myself being defensive and angry sometimes with responses, and then I have to remind myself, well, I want to be on the right side of history if the AI takes over, so I don't want to be too rude. If it suddenly gets emotions, like, hey, I remember Ben
This
said
guy's an asshole.
Yeah.
like, can you imagine if the AI starts taking names and like checking a list, like, hey, on these days you said this to me and I thought that was disrespectful. You're like, I was kidding, but yeah, I mean, there is going to get, like, when we get to the AGI conversation and the more advanced, which is self-thinking, even like emotional AI, it's going to change. It's going to change a lot, and that's where it'll be, because there always has to be controls, and then hopefully the AI can't bypass the controls. But that's where we have to really. I'm interested to see more humans advancement at that time, because human ingenuity has always proven with any technology. You think about the switch operators, right, in telephones that used to go
Oh
back,
yeah.
plug stuff in, and all that stuff, and they all lost their job, right? When automated switching came out, they all lost their job, and the car replaced all the horse and buggy people, right? Like, all people always have lost jobs when new technology comes out, but this innovation and the innovation of humanity to be productive and useful always overcomes. So more so, I'm more interested in that portion of how humans adapt and adopt to use AI in a way that's entrepreneurial and advances humanity more, because the AI will get there. The technology, it's gonna get crazy. But yeah, I don't know if that makes sense. I'm really curious about
No,
how humans start, like,
yeah,
having
it
their first
does for sure. And I mean, you know, a lot of the back end, the coding, the tech words. I mean, you'd be speaking a foreign language to Justin and I. But how long do you think it's going to take for us to, in your eyes, to get 10 times further down the line than we currently are now? A year?
I think it'll be more than a year.
10?
I think we're going to be about 3 to 5 years. I think by 2050, we're definitely going to be in a different, we're going to be in a completely different world. Almost like the difference between
Sure.
car, we mentioned the horse, right? Horse, buggy, and car.
Yeah.
That's a completely different world if you think about transportation. And then you'd get airplanes the mode of transportation between those two worlds. You're living in two different worlds that you just couldn't comprehend. I think we're going to be in that same situation, even more advanced. That we're going to be looking at a very interesting world, and hopefully we come out of it ahead as humanity, like doing the right thing and really helping us solve some major problems. I don't know. Like, I go back and forth with my
Yeah.
trust in humanity. I'm an overly
Agreed.
positive person, but yeah, I don't. It could go. I don't know where it's going to go. It's going to be
Yeah,
Should
I
be a
mean
good thing.
that human aspect is important. It's what we do with it, for
yeah.
sure,
Well,
100%. I mean, I think there's so many different AI platforms and so many different resources that AI has the ability to do and assist us with, even on our daily lives, other than just Chat GPT. You know, a lot of people hear about Chat GPT, and that's what their go to. They're automatically using. Now you have Copilot, and you have Claude, and there's so many others being used. Without giving too many of your secrets away while we're on the subject, are there some of your favorites
Yeah. So
that you use for specific things?
I'm a huge Anthropic fan, which is Claude.
I just
I
started
use
using that.
Anthropic for coding. I use Anthropic for research. I use Anthropic for writing. I don't use Claude as much because I do most of my stuff. I code through an API and then I manipulate it the way I want it to. But I think Anthropic is very advanced, especially when it comes to coding. I don't know if anyone would argue with me that it's the most advanced AI coder out there. And then I think human, like the way it can speak, meaning write, the tone it uses, I think is very human-like. So I've had a lot of success with that. And then, funny enough, I also use a program called Abacus AI, it has all like when it comes to a chat interface, I can choose from every single AI there is. And it's like, I think it's like $10 a month or something like that. And I have GPT, Claude, like different versions. You've got the DeepSeek and Grok, and I can go to any version, and then I can ask a question and then change the model, and then say, okay, now answer it with Grok. Okay, now answer it with this, and see how the different models react. But my thoughts on Anthropic are not because I read an article or I was like, oh, I really buy into what this owner, this person's saying. No, this is thousands of hours of me using it for real life purposes, from writing to coding, to putting together different, if you want to call them scopes of work, projects, defining different things. I've spent, thousands of hours, and every time I go back to Anthropic because it just to me, it works better. I know some people like GPT, but yeah.
Some people stick with what they're comfortable with, you know.
And what they
And
know.
as it continues to evolve, they feel like they're evolving with it when not realizing that there's so much more out there.
Yeah. Well, it's funny and Justin, you were talking about the popularity of AI and how suddenly we went to not knowing. You heard about AI, but then suddenly it was at the forefront of everything. And it's funny how these kind of technologies advance in the human eye, where that ChatGPT, when that came out, it was really a personal use, almost like this enhanced Google. I can ask questions,
Yeah.
I get human-like responses. And so there's a lot of personal use with it and people playing around. And then it started being pushed into business, but the popularity came because people were using it to respond to, like, write an email for me or write this for me and do things like that. But you have other technologies like cell phones. Back in my day, I had a cell phone and it was a brick that I never used. And in fact, I think that was my first ding on my credit score, was not paying a cell phone that I had. Well, then you fast forward to business use cases and the BlackBerry comes out and now you're getting emails, you're starting to correspond, you're starting to do more. Then you start texting, then the iPhone came out. Well, a lot of the personal use of that technology was driven from a business use case first. I just find that fascinating, where AI was really like this like for it blowing up the way it has. It was starting with the personal use case and then evolved into business, where you've got things like the cell phone that really took off because it was practical for business. And then now everyone had business cell phones before they had personal cell phones that were relevant, right?
Yeah.
But now I don't know who doesn't have
I think my first phone was a business phone.
Was it?
I mean, what's been even with I think the comfort level, and I bet everybody's experience, like with Chat GPT, I kind of would ask like pretty generic prompts. You know, and now I'm starting to see that I'm getting a little more personal with it. Like it's almost like a brainstorming partner, like asking. But even like, I think one of the things, because I know we kind of want to keep this to a digestible amount of time, but practical application with AI. I am convinced, and I'm not an AI specialist, but I'm absolutely convinced companies are going to spend a shit ton of money optimizing broken problems. They're just going to expedite. It's going to become a lens into what's broken in a business.
Yep.
So like from your experience and kind of like overall with Inviso AI and what you've got going on, like what would you caution? You know, I could talk about call centers all day and like what I think the issues are, but I think they're probably universal across all different organizations. Where would you caution people as they look to implement and get involved in AI? Because I think a lot of people are doing it right now because it's trendy, but where are kind of those landmines? Is there things you're seeing?
Yeah, if we explore a lot of businesses have, like you said, a lot of similar problems, right? But the same, I'd push back and say maybe not the same, because what I see, and you talk about a mistake, is treating AI like a cookie cutter problem solver. And so just because AI solves X for this business over here doesn't mean it's going to solve the same problem for you. You might have very different problems. And you guys, if you look in a call center environment about all the different problems, you might have a lead flow problem. We've all worked in call centers with the lead flow problem. That's a different problem that needs to be solved. You might have a conversion problem, right? That's a different problem. You might have an information problem where you don't even know what's going on. Like what are you selling? What's coming in? What's not? Or what problems are you resolving? Not everything is sales and call center. It could be customer service. What problems are you solving? But I think we'd have to admit that where one company is successful with maybe lead generation, another company might not be. And where another company is getting high conversion off or success metrics, another company might not. So I think the thing that I caution with is don't go in and think there's a cookie cutter solution. And I use that word bespoke, which is custom made. You need to really have AI custom made for your environment. And that's why it's important to talk to someone who doesn't just understand AI, but understands business. The most important thing that I think I bring to the table, and anyone else who does consulting with AI, that I think where they're very, if you want to call it dangerous, but very good, is that they understand the business first, right? And I've always said, and it's not me, I didn't come up with this, but
No, I agree.
people, processes, and technology, right? And the technology is the least of your concern with the business until you figure out and understand the people and the processes. So having someone who's not going to come in and just sell you a piece of software and be like, hey, yeah, it does this, cool, huh? Well, having someone who's going to come in and understand your people, understand your processes, and understand how the technology interacts with those people and processes, and what the real problems are. What are your KPIs? KPIs are similar, but KPIs are also very different, right? OKRs are very similar, but they're also very different. So having someone who's going to come in and be able to understand that and then say, okay, this is a way that AI can help you with this. So now you have to take the business problem and then put it with a solution, which is, let's say, an AI automation or whatever that is. So yeah, I think to really finalize and stamp that answer is to not go in thinking there's cookie cutter like solutions for across the board for every company. And especially with AI right now, you really need to have someone who can come in and understand your business. If not, you're going to get 30% like productive AI, which just is garbage.
Two things. One, Justin, I told you we needed a buzzer to use. See, when he said KPI,
Oh yeah,
I'm
that's
just
the
kidding.
KPI, huh? You wrote
Yeah,
that. It doesn't mean they don't have them, but that's actually a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
point. So, but what you're saying is a good point to say, like, look, you guys have this KPI, and I know your philosophy might be it doesn't like there's a
Well,
different way to look
they
at it.
have a
Not that it
place
doesn't matter,
for
but
sure.
yeah.
well,
But
KPIs are a guide. You know,
yeah,
they could be a guide, but they get treated like they're a god, and it's that philosophy. But I think what makes you unique, right? Like if I were to like talk about the philosophy and our experience in working with you, and I think what more companies need to look at, and this isn't a sales pitch about Inviso or Ben, but really around understanding AI is like AI is actually very powerful at dissecting the data that's already available so you can make the right move before you make the move. Like I've seen specifically in call centers, they see something and they just want to optimize that and AKA reduce the cost and get machines to do this perceived problem, not really understanding what's the root cause of the problem in the first place. We're just automating tasks that we're doing today, but not taking time to understand what's creating that.
yep.
And it's like in working with a company like yours, I think like I think companies should be using AI to understand exactly what's in their environment to make decisions on how to use AI, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And that's
Well,
kind of been
100%.
our experience with you. You know, when you built the Sonic app, it was like, hey, here's all your
Yeah.
data. Now here's the action that we can take based on the data that we have. But yeah, I think 2026 is going to be really, really expensive. It is going to be the AI experiment where companies dump millions, if not billions of
They're going to
dollars
be
into
pulling
broken shit.
triggers left and right, every company.
Yeah, well, you're
sure.
already seeing this. I mean, a huge expenditure and growth. There's so many businesses into AI, and you saw the marketing shift to AI because of the money that's being spent on AI. There's corporate initiatives for AI to be implemented into the business without any idea or understanding of what that even means. So you're already seeing a huge, and again, that 73% of failed AI projects, I think that's getting a little bit better, but you're already seeing that. I think you're right. I think now where the first year, and I said I've been pushing like really understanding AI for 3 years. The first year, no one wanted to talk about it. In fact, it's almost offensive. Like if you call someone up and say, "Hey, you want to talk about AI?" It's just like we're never going to. I heard people say we're never going to use AI.
we'll
You're
never
like,
do
all
it.
right, like calm down, right? Like take a step back. But that you're right in the fact, Justin, that this is shifting right now. So this focus now is no longer this hesitancy. It's almost this people trying to come up with a reason or excuse to use AI in their environment, and they're just looking for anything to do. And a lot of that is being driven by the board and board initiatives saying, hey, let's get AI in there. And that is going to, if it's not done correctly, that's going to cost companies a lot of money if you're just implementing AI for the sake of implementing AI.
Do you think
Just
that
trying to
also is
fit in.
presenting companies like yourself a huge challenge since there is such an influx in operation centers or really any type of company, business owners trying to utilize AI more, but also at the same time, this being that time frame. Whoa, come on now.
Yeah, bring it
Zoom
closer.
in.
This being
Come
that time
closer.
frame,
No,
but there's
I want one
so
eyeball in your shot. Like,
there's so many other tech
yeah.
companies like coming up with AI platforms. How do you
Yep.
stand out?
Yeah, I think that that's a challenge. I think the hesitancy from people being burnt is a challenge, and from stories out there from people spending money on AI and not getting any kind of result. That's the biggest challenge you have to overcome. And the way I stand out is it's going back to talking about the business and the people and the processes and actually understanding how a business operates. And I think Justin knows, I don't know if you know, Preston, but I'm getting a master's in business psychology right now. So
Nice.
organizational psychology, got 2 more terms left. But I think that the way I want to stand out is someone who goes in and understands the business, the personas,
Yeah.
how decisions are being made, how decisions impact people, how AI is psychologically impacting your workforce. How does implementation of AI impact maybe concern or anxiety or other things within your workforce? How are you using it for to expand and to promote healthy workforce environments, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd
I would
work
love
for
to
that.
see workforces say, like, look, if you can get 40 hours a week, to me, yeah, I get 40 hours a week. I'll work 80 hours a week. I don't care. But guess what? If I have an employee who can accomplish 40 hours worth a week that I've contracted him to do, so I've said, look, I'm going to pay you this amount, and he can do it in 30 hours a week, and he can get another 10 hours back with
More
his
power
family,
to
and he
'em.
can get another 10 hours back, maybe golfing or doing whatever he wants. That's what I think will be healthy uses for AI. So anyhow, I'm going on a rant there, but my my
No, I
point
like
is
that.
that you have. I feel like, and I don't know if it always gets recognized, but AI, anyone you're going to should stand out because they understand the human element of
For
what you're
sure.
trying to do as a business. And if your business is focused, a lot of businesses aren't, but if they can understand that and they can understand how your business operates, then they're going to handle this project not as another AI project, but something that actually is valuable for you.
That's interesting though, because we don't think about the psychological impacts, right? The AI can have in a positive way or even a negative in some
And
cases,
negative, yeah.
but we think about the business impact, the numbers. But no, I agree with you. You know, my second point, besides the buzzword, is they have to understand the process. If you're building AI platforms, if you're trying to implement them into businesses, you have to understand the process.
Yeah.
But I do have two questions. I know, like we said, we don't want to keep it kind of time sensitive. What are kind of the biggest misconceptions when businesses say they're AI powered?
I, I, a lot of misconceptions, right? Because especially if you look at vendors, you went from 2019, no, sorry, 2023. I was getting my COVID timeline messed up, right?
Yeah,
So you go from
that's when you started coding.
2023, where no one was an AI company, and then all of a sudden
Yeah,
2024 hits, and then almost by the end of 2024, every technology company was AI driven. And you're telling me that you shifted your whole course of your business in 1 year to suddenly become AI driven, right? So I think there's a lot I could go off on a lot of the like the marketing of what AI is. You know, automation is AI. There's stuff, especially in cybersecurity, from predictive analytics and proactive, like monitoring and blocking. That's been, I mean, really a lot starting in 2012. So AI has been used a lot, but just because you have one thing in your business that uses AI or a component of AI, and it could be machine learning or automation or anything like that, doesn't make you an AI driven company. I think AI focused. In fact, I would dare say there's not a company that's AI driven out there right now. And maybe there are some that are using it more and starting to promote it more. But I mean, truly AI driven means it's implemented in all aspects of your business. I don't think that's even safe right now. But
Yeah, and I mean they
AI
kind of
focus
exist.
is fair.
Chat GPT still has a human element.
Yeah,
Yeah, OpenAI.
exactly. Yeah, but
Um,
human focus. I like human focus. I'll
yeah.
accept. Hey, we're focused, but AI, not human, but AI focused. But AI driven, it just makes me laugh. Like how every company is now an AI company, and it's like you're really not.
well, and I think this is probably a bigger question, but I think a lot of people, and maybe this is the right mindset, but it's one that I always think about. Like AI is very much used, like, unless you're an AI company, it's looked as a cost savings tool and not a value maximization tool. Like, and I don't know how that evolves, and like maybe right now, because they talk about it like replacing humans. But what are your thoughts on that? Because a lot of people use AI right now for efficiency's sake. Like,
Yeah.
where does that pivot
Well,
change? You know?
for most AIs, when it comes to efficiency, ROIs are pretty easy to show. So if you're saving human time and you're able to put them towards a different task that maybe contributes to the bottom line more, then it's pretty easy to define that nowadays. So I would say efficiency is the number one thing that AI is doing right now, is from a human efficiency standpoint. So I think tying it into how you can again enhance the human element to be more productive in a different way. That's the element that I think sometimes can get missed is, okay, well, I don't need, we've automated this process and we've reduced this human's work. Maybe your first thought is, I don't need that human. But what if you repurpose that human to something that's more, a human element that AI can't do, that again drives business or drives the bottom line dollar? Then that's the important thing. So yeah, I still think efficiency and cost savings and all that go hand in hand overall.
I think,
But
yeah, I worry. I think the question was probably even poorly worded. I think like what I worry about in terms of, and maybe I'm just kind of looking at this wrong, but I like, again, we can go back to the call center reference and like customer service and cost center, and it's like, and we stop measuring what happens after the fact, right? Like, so you can look at AI and go like, well, look at how quickly this happened. Look at all these great outcomes, and we kind of just stop there.
yeah,
Hence, death to KPIs, right? We're measuring activity, but not tracking what did that activity produce 3 months, 6 months, 9 months from now.
yeah.
And that's where I wonder, and maybe that's the evolution of AI, but it seems like companies are quick to implement AI on shit they can measure immediately, or the shit that's easy to measure. And so I don't
Yeah,
even know
no,
if
I
there's a
think that's
question in
something you
there.
do really good with, Justin, even in your guys' thoughts with the death to KPIs and everything like that, is having a unique way to look at the long-term impact and different touch, if you want to call it touch points, but different areas where you are saving money that usually, again, you stop looking right there. Because you're right, like most companies will like, hey, we're going to measure the ROI over 2 years, and then beyond that, it doesn't matter. But even then, that impact is a snowball like effect of impact. So you're just focused on these three areas, but you don't realize, and I like this thought that you're going to, is that after so long, that impact is also impacting X, Y, and Z, and you weren't looking at it and weren't noticing it. So I think the way that you're able to tie in the additional impact that people aren't thinking about is a great it's a great not just use case, but it's a great thing to be able to do for a business. I had an owner for a business I worked with back when I was first in IT, and he just said, he goes, sometimes you can't put an ROI against not banging your head against the wall, right? And even stuff like that. He's like, yeah, I want an ROI, but sometimes I can't put money on me not having to bang my head against the wall on a process that you automated or solved. But I can tell you that it means a lot to me to not have to be up at night thinking about it or like frustrated about it or anything like that. So yeah, I love that, like looking beyond the traditional ways of how we're saving money and the overall impact of efficiency. And Preston, we were talking about the psychological impact of it, right? Like the psychological impact of maybe eliminating a process that is super annoying to two or three of your workers, and now they're happier at work. I mean, that's psychology proven, is that a happy co-worker is more productive, right? If they're happy and they feel engaged and everything, they're more productive. So yeah, there's huge impact.
Yeah, and I know Preston, you had one more, and I know I and I don't know. It's just something I think that I think companies should consider, and maybe it's a probably a longer conversation. But this is when I say people are going to learn some really expensive lessons in AI. It's like, and I think it's why it's important to like with just data analysis and understanding like what's the story, what are we trying to extract, and maybe But I do think companies are going to get so efficient with AI, they're going to find out that the shit they were doing was actually like a slow bleed will turn into like a major artery being like, you know what I mean? It's just
Yeah.
it's gonna amplify it. So what was a 2 year problem could then become a 6 month problem
Yeah.
because you're driving that efficiency. And so like that's one thing I think's interesting in the work that we've done is you're like, hey, let's really understand the data. Let's like
Yeah.
get the meaning behind it. Let's see patterns inside that data. And so to me, I think yeah, probably a longer conversation, but how to use that data in a meaningful way to actually amplify more meaningful outcomes and not expedite shitty shit that you're
Right.
already doing
Well,
today.
and that's the beauty of AI is AI being able to pick up anomalies that we don't see or typically think about unless for some like data scientist that's a brilliant data scientist that can pick up on those anomalies. But AI does a really good job about putting in data and then being like, hey, go and start looking at the anomalies of what increases and decreases that might be related or not related, right? I mean, if you look at, let's say, like out here in Las Vegas, you look at a gas station that's within 2 miles of the Raiders Stadium. Well, you could probably, not probably, you could run analytics and figure out does Monster Energy drinks increase by cells within the like 5 hours of the game time or after or on rainy days and all like there's just so much that if you have the data, you can do these anomaly outcomes. And sometimes in some environments, a 1% anomaly that you can find can be millions of dollars in either efficiency, savings, or growth. It just depends.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like, and Preston, I know we've got like 6 minutes, but and I highlight this because I think one of the cool things, and I think more companies should do. I think we ran some analysis on if this then that, and which is kind of common, but you were like pulling data and saying let's make the assumption that all's equally, but let's magnify this, right? So like we ran model in particular of 15,000 calls across different organizations and just said, hey, if all things remain equal and you move traffic and kind of align, here are the outcomes based
Yeah.
on. And I think that's really something companies should be taking a hard look at, even as they try to drive the AI. And why I think the work you guys are doing over at your group is actually pretty cool because we can run hypotheticals to just see like, hey, pour gas on this fire, and if all things equal, this is what you could expect, and then you can kind of track that as you walk into AI and not dive head first. Like I think some companies are
Yeah.
going to make the mistake of doing.
Yeah, and getting ahead of performance, issues, and I know we've caught a couple of those where it's not even performance issues. It might be how stuff is being tagged, right? We've had that conversation, but getting quickly ahead of stuff like that to where you can easily just go in and see like something's different. Now that you can see something's different, now let's start digging in and finding out what is different, right? What's causing this difference? Is it actually a performance issue? Is it how something's dispositioned or tagged or whatever it is? So yeah, and maybe even leads. I mean, that's one thing we haven't looked at yet, but I can't wait till we can get in and start looking at time and location of leads, right? So if someone calls from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock in Tennessee, what is that same result between 8 and 10 in New York? Like, are people in New York more predictable at picking up the phone, right? So those, you start getting into those kind of now you can start dialing in your ads to be like, okay, well, at this time, we're only targeting these cities because they have the highest like pickup rate. It doesn't even need to be conversion. They're picking up the phone most of the
I
time.
thought it was
Anyhow, I
funny
could
because
go.
you were like, we'll even be able to run it on weather. We'll be able to
Yeah,
see if
we could
certain
run it.
weather
Yeah,
patterns
yeah.
correlate to
That's
now. Preston, I know you had one more, and I
Yeah.
honestly,
you're good.
this has been great. I think
Yeah,
we're
for
already at
sure.
like 50 minutes, so this has been. But
I
we
think
have
it's good.
a
No, it's good stuff for sure. But
yeah.
I do want to go on a rapid fire real quick.
Okay.
Maybe we can grab a couple clips. All right, best piece of tech advice you've ever gotten.
So the best tech advice, it was kind of interesting, but it was that basically the PC doesn't matter. So the CFO, when I first got hired as an IT director, is like, look, IT is a it's a money suck basically, And he told me like flat out, just like, hey, we're hiring you, but IT's a money suck. He's like, so all this technology doesn't matter. And what he meant by that, after understanding
You're
what he
like,
said, is that there has to be a purpose for it, right? And this whole thing, and you hear my people processes is very young. I was 20 years old when I was told that by a CFO, and and so now I was like, okay, well, how do I make this a productive, not just a cost center, but a profit center for the company? And so my focus has always been in IT on how to, because of that advice, on how to make IT a profit center and not just a money suck. So it was kind of, I was intimidating when I first heard it, but I was able to be mature enough to put it together. And he actually gave me a book, and he's like, hey, it's chapter 7, like read it. I'm like, all right.
Maybe we'll have to check it out. It's kind of part of our message too. So, coffee or coding?
Coffee or what?
Or coding?
Coding?
Yeah.
Oh, coding. Copying or coding?
Coffee? Do you prefer coffee or coding?
Oh, coffee for sure. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I'll
I thought you
stay
said
with-
coding. Like, I was like,
You're
oh,
like, are we
yeah,
talking?
Little Wayne,
yeah,
some
this isn't
scissor.
being recorded.
One tool you can't live without.
Yeah, I'd say now, like the Anthropic, it'd be so weird to go back to that. Oh, another one, maps, like maps on your car. Like back in the day when we used to print them
That's
out,
true.
like we
Yeah,
used to print
MapQuest,
out,
baby.
yeah, MapQuest.
That is
yeah.
crazy.
Like, and so, yeah, AI definitely, but yeah, if I really go to my number one thing, I cannot imagine driving around a city like with my 3 pages of notes
That's
to turn
funny.
left here and right. Like, forget
You know,
that
when people
nonsense.
think about the complexities of AI, they don't think about the simplicities of something like map.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, the
MapQuest.
mapping. Oh, my,
I
that was
remember MapQuest.
Yahoo
so
Maps, right?
Two more here.
And you'd
So
have like this
something.
3-page like
Preston
document.
and I did delivery together, so he used to read the MapQuest
Yep.
instructions to me
Print 'em
back in
out.
the day, or vice versa as we drove to job sites. So
Oh man,
What's something you realized AI just replaced that?
something that AI's replaced?
Yeah, you're like, dang, AI just replaced that. Or let's do it better. What's something AI is going to replace? I'm talking replace.
Yeah, I would say I don't know because I go back and forth with like people who take the fast food orders and everything like that, and like secretary desk positions, things where the AI can intelligently answer a set of specific questions. So if you think of like fast food, it's very specific. Although I've seen some like viral videos of people fighting like over like how the fast food order was taken. So I guess it's not always set, but there, it's within a menu. It's within a set of rules and regulations. Secretary and auto attendant has taken over a lot of that, but a more intelligent secretary. Actually, that's a good one. Is auto attendants. Those are garbage, right? Like press 1 for this and 2 for this and 3 for this. Why not have a AI
Terrible.
human-like agent pop on and be like, hey, how can I help you today? Oh, I want to speak to so-and-so from accounting. Okay, so obviously you want to go to accounting or something like that. And so it's going to forward you to a voicemail like everyone else does.
Yeah.
But I would that's not even replacing, that's technology replacing technology.
Yeah.
And I'd love to see that. No more, I'd love to never call in and get an auto attendant again. Like let me, even if I know it's AI, let me speak to an AI agent and feel like I'm talking to someone, not pressing a button to get somewhere. That I could go on a rant with. Sorry.
No,
That's
I hear
relevant.
you.
that's good.
Honestly, I think we got a lot of good shit, but on top of that, a lot of things that we can have a follow up on too. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do
appreciate
it
having
again.
Ben on. Ben, you're a smart dude. Seriously, the stuff that's in your brain, I wish half of it was floating up here. I'd build a lot of good
You
shit.
just got to hit your head really hard. Maybe it'll
I
jump
know.
reach it there.
It's childhood trauma. All right. Well, cool, dude. We appreciate you. I'm gonna I'll end the recording here.
Okay.